people, welcome back to another 30 before 30 video. Now, as this is actually the weekend of my birthday when this is going live, I'm not putting together a whole podcast. I have done a lot of videos over the last month and I wanted to give myself a little break just for the end of the month so that I could enjoy my birthday and Emrys's birthday. But as I did on the last time in this month where I skipped a week for the podcast, I really wanted to share with you one of my finished objects which I am loving so much, and that is the Martha dress. Now this is a pattern by Tilly and the Buttons. Yes, I'm making a lot of Tilly and the Buttons patterns at the moment, but Martha really holds a special place in my heart. I actually made a version of Martha previously and I wore her to my friend's wedding, and I made it in a kind of gold, thicker fabric, and it was okay, but there were a lot of problems with it. I rushed it when I kind of put it together, and so Martha was not kind of shining her brightest when I initially made her. I was so excited about this pattern when it came out that I actually downloaded the PDF version on the day of release and sewed up that version of the dress the same weekend that it was released originally, so I absolutely loved it. And so I knew it was just a matter of time before I made another version of Martha, which is this one. Now, pretty much from the first week that I started working at Tilly and the Buttons, I had my heart set on making another Martha. And I was thinking about it because I saw Martha samples in the office and I just thought it's a beautiful pattern, I love it so much. But something that you may not know about Martha is that in comparison to all of the other patterns that Tilly and the Buttons sells, Martha is definitely the least appreciated in terms of people wanting to sew her up. She's still beautiful and loved by those who do make her, but I think it takes a little bit extra for people to appreciate her, which is why she holds an extra special place in my heart. She has two different variations, and I've only ever made this version, which is the one that I'm wearing, which is the knee-length version with the shorter sleeves. You can make this pattern with these very outrageous bell sleeves and a mini skirt, both of which have this high neck detailing, but it's very simple to omit this. You can literally just sew the neck facings on and not have the little collar, but I really love the collar. I think it's a really cute touch, and I am obsessed with this version of this dress. A little bit about the fabric. This is one of my many recent purchases from the website Fabric Godmother. It's a cotton viscose fabric, so it's incredibly drapey. I've got my skirt here, really drapey, and that's perfect for this dress. It would do nicely with a bit more structure as well, but because the skirt is cut on the bias, having a fabric with loads and loads of drape just means that this swishes and looks awesome, and it's just a joy. It was a little bit difficult to work with. It's been a long time since I've worked with a really kind of floaty, lightweight fabric. So I found that when I was cutting this out, my pieces were shifting around a bit, and when I went to go and sew them all together, I'd cut some a little bit irregularly, which meant that some of the pieces were slightly the wrong length, and it all worked itself out eventually, but there are some definite flaws in the construction of this dress. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but that doesn't stop me from absolutely loving it. One other thing in terms of construction, I did leave a little bit of positive ease in this dress. As you can see, there's movement, there's space in here, and the reason that I did that, I could very easily have taken in all of these seams and made it a lot more figure hugging, but I decided not to for two different reasons. First reason, this kind of fabric, because it's so kind of soft and floaty and light, if I try to tighten it up too much, I really think that the fabric would have suffered for it. It's not designed to kind of be very tightly stretched across the form. It looks a lot more flattering when there's a little bit of looseness to it. And also, it's a really nice kind of floaty dress, and I didn't want it to be too structured. So if I were using a different kind of fabric, I may adjust the fit slightly so it's not so loosey-goosey, but as it is, I really love it. I must say my hem is a little bit of a botched job on this dress, and I really may need to go back and resolve it at a later date. I wanted to have this dress finished to wear at the Sewing Bee Live, where Tilly and the Buttons were vending this year, and where a lot of you lovely people came and said hello, and it was awesome. I wanted to make sure that I had this dress finished for that event, because I really wanted to represent Martha and introduce more people to Martha, because as I said, she's a little bit unloved. So I ended up actually finishing it on the morning of the fair. I'm a bit of an insomniac at the moment, so I was up in the very early hours of the morning in order to do that, but I literally kind of turned and pressed the hem and then sewed all the way around it. So it's a little bit raggedy, but that's okay. The rest of the construction details I'm pretty happy with. All of the internal seams are finished. The invisible zip went in really nice and neatly, and also at the back of the collar I have the cutest little vintage button which is actually doing up the collar at the back, and that's the type of little touch that I really like. Would I make this pattern again? Well, this is the second time that I've made it, so I'm relatively certain that I will make it again. I think a really nice thing to try for my next version would be to try something different with the neckline, just so that I'm mixing up and doing a couple of things a bit differently. There are a lot of projects that I want to get kind of started pretty soon, so doing another version of Martha is not kind of my #1 priority right now. But it's so easy to wear, and it's so flattering, and it's so pretty, and using a big bold print like this one, it's a real statement dress, and I just love it. It's making me very happy on very many levels. So that's Martha. She's definitely not my #1 favourite of the patterns that I've made of Tilly and the Buttons, because some of those really do have a very special place in my heart. But I'm so happy that I have this version of this dress. I can envision myself wearing it a lot as the weather gets a little bit cooler, with tights and boots and maybe a little oversized cardigan. And I can also very easily see myself wearing it in springtime, just with a pair of maybe wedges or clogs. I don't quite think I can envision myself wearing it in the summer just because of the high neck, but every other season I'm good to go, and considering I live in the UK where 90% of the year is cold and wet, this is just fabulous. I love it. I hope you've enjoyed having a little kind of sneak peek at the construction of Martha. I can't wait to do another podcast with you guys again next week. There are still going to be a couple more 30 before 30 videos before the end of this month, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But in terms of podcasts, I have so much to share with you for next week, and I can't wait to catch up with you all. I hope you all have a wonderful day filled with sewing goodness that brings you joy in your very hearts and souls, because this seriously did for me. I'll see you all again really soon, guys. Love you. Bye.